And it's just weird, too, because it's not as if the Bruins absolutely sucked in terms of goal scoring. They were 7th, if I'm not mistaken, in goal scoring this year. Pretty sure they were 7th. So, but that's also with David Pastrnak firing on all cylinders. That was close. Come on, Pasta, hit the fucking net. 2 minutes on the clock for me. You guys might be ahead. You might be behind me. I'm not sure. Thank God that's icing. God, dude, there's no way Pasta's healthy, right? There's no way. Fucking guy can't hit the net. God, if David Pastrnak could hit the net, this game would have been over. Good glove down by McAvoy. Oh, I don't know what McAvoy's doing, man. He just hasn't been making the smarter plays that he normally makes. 1:30 on the clock. This is going to go to overtime, isn't it? This is fucking beautiful, just how dramatic this is. 25% of Game 7s go to overtime. That's insane. Holmberg. 5 seconds. Holy fuck. That was close. Jesus Christ. Whew. Just throw the puck in front, man, because you never know what might happen. Off the fucking skates of Wotherspoon. Jesus Christ. The fact, too, that the Bruins lost Game 7 last year in overtime after losing Game 5 in overtime, which the Bruins also lost Game 5 to Toronto in overtime. Like, literally, if they lose this in overtime, it is the exact same. ESPN just showed it. It is the exact same outcome as last year's series. It's nuts. Is McAvoy injured? I wouldn't be surprised. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, McAvoy, Pastrnak, they're not quite playing up to their normal standard. And so you're always going to question, is somebody hurt or are they just playing like shit? Both are possible. One can influence the other. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you head into this game and it's like, oh, Samsonov's back in, Bruins, easy, GG. Again, I am still of the opinion, as a lot of people are, the Florida Panthers are going back to the Eastern Conference Final. Like, it's really tough to imagine either one of these two teams beating Florida. Like, unless Bobrovsky turns back into a pumpkin, which he could, or, you know, if there's like an unforeseen injury, but, you know, it's clear that the Bruins either have key injuries or they're just falling apart at the worst time. And the Leafs, very obviously, have some key injuries. So, 3:35 until the start of this overtime. 3:35. Like I said, I'm not going to be devastated if the Bruins lose. I hope they win. But, again, as a Bruins fan, this is what I expect. I have said it ad nauseum, but it is the truth. The Bruins choke more than anybody in NHL history. Good luck finding a team with the history of choking that the Boston Bruins have over the last 50 years. Good luck. I don't think you can find that team that has a worse history than they do. Endo and I put together a video last year after the collapse to the Panthers where we went over all of that history. Again, I have that as my pinned tweet on Twitter. And it's just what they do. Will Swayman be thrown under the bus? I would hope not. There will be some people, though. Like, so again, the Bruins have this history of choking, right? And Then along comes Tim Thomas, who was the primary reason why they won in 2011. Like, it took a goalie putting on one of the best performances of all time for the Bruins to actually fucking win the thing. And in subsequent years, once Tim Thomas was gone, Tuukka Rask, for the most part, played really fucking well. Even when Tuukka lost the job, which was after the 2010 collapse to the Flyers, Tuukka had a couple of good games, a bad game. But for the most part, like, you can go back and look at the box scores for those final 4 games against the Flyers in 2010, and the Bruins were just flat out outplayed. Tuukka didn't steal the games for them, but the bottom line is the team in front of him was outplayed. Tim Thomas, it didn't fucking matter. He just stopped everything. So then in subsequent years, even if it was Tuukka Rask carrying the team on his fucking back, a lot of Bruins fans, a lot of Boston-based media, it was, Tuukka sucks because he isn't Tim Thomas. I'd like to think Swayman's not going to get the Rask treatment. I would like to think that, but history dictates that, Boston sports media is just like any other ruthless market, New York, Toronto, Montreal, whatever, where there's got to be a scapegoat. But again, I can't imagine that many people labeling Jeremy Swayman the reason as to why they would have lost, even if he lets in a goal from 200 feet. It's like, well, shit, he's the only reason why they were there, you know? Oh, dude, without Jeremy Swayman, it's a disaster. Who's underperformed the worst? Pastrnak. It's David Pastrnak. I mean, like you head into this series having a season that he did, and technically he has 4 points in 6 games with 2 goals, but you're getting paid $11 million. Pavel Zacha has 2 points, no goals. Charlie Coyle has 2 points, no goals. If you don't pick Pasta, you have to pick the 2 centers. Come on. God, good save, Simpson. Oh, my God, how'd they not score? The fucking puck went to the blue paint. At least that's what it looked like. AJ, I do. I have the home jersey. Jay Marty in a way, yeah. Oh my God! Yes! Yes! David Pastrnak! Yes! Oh, thank fuck they didn't choke. Oh my God. Whew. Oh, you're gonna get fucking murdered by Florida, but let's go. You're gonna get fucking cooked by Florida. But at least you made it out of the first round for the first time since what, fucking 2021? Holy shit. Everybody go watch Steve Dangle's stream, by the way. That'll be the more entertaining part. I think 2BC's streaming on Twitch right now as well. Oh, man. Thank God. David Pastrnak. Oh, Steve's live streaming this. He's on the SDPN channel. That was a great fucking cross-corner feed. And what a read. That was a great fucking play by Lindholm. And Samsonov was just a little bit too conservative. He didn't try to poke check it. That was a fucking awesome play by Hampus Lindholm. And a great finish by Pasta. Wow. I can't believe... I guess Samsonov, he tried to protect the 5-hole instead of poke checking. Holy fuck. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. God damn, man. I feel so sorry for Leafs fans, too. Like, I've talked about that. Like, I have a lot of friends who are Leafs fans. I've supported, like, the SDPN since literally day one when they started the podcast. I've been watching Steve since I was in high school. I'm 30. Like, I want the Leafs to do something, but I obviously this year did not want it to come at the expense of the Bruins. 4 straight Game 7 wins for the Bruins over the Leafs. Jesus Christ. Is Lindholm the best trade deadline deal of the last decade? I'd have to think about it. Lindholm's been inconsistent, in my opinion, since he's gotten to Boston. But when Lindholm is on his game, holy fuck, he might be better than Charlie McAvoy. He might be the most consistently top-notch defender that they have. Well, yeah, Crash, because he's not what they needed 2 years ago. What they needed 2 years ago was Max Domi. They needed more offensive firepower. And then what happened? Max Domi scored the goal that booted them out of the playoffs when they lost to Carolina in 7. So, holy shit. Both games that went to overtime ended within minutes as well, which is shocking. I really thought the Leafs had them this year. I really did. I really, really thought the Leafs had them this year. Wow. Ray, what's up? Like I said, I still don't necessarily like the Bruins' odds against the Florida Panthers, especially after what happened last year. But I am happy that the Bruins didn't fucking choke for once. If they lose to the Panthers, then so be it. Although, God forbid they go up like 3-1 against the Panthers again. That's not going to happen, but... Whew. Does it even take them 24 hours to fire Keefe and ditch the Shanna plan? We'll talk about both teams in a second. I'm trying to hear this Pasternak interview. Said he needed to step up, and he did. Razor, thank you for the 79. Holy shit, dude. Wow. Keefe to Pittsburgh with Dubas? Very likely. Even if it's as an assistant. God damn, man. The show on the Pasta goal again, that was such a sick finish on his part. But I really can't believe, like I said, the goal against, like, Samsonov used the stick to protect the 5-hole instead of getting poked, instead of trying to poke check. You can't really blame him for that. But what's up, Rich, by the way? Wow. Genuinely can't believe it. I really, really thought the Leafs had them this year. That board's bang pass is vintage scenery. I mean, again, that was a phenomenal play by Lindholm and a ridiculous finish by David Pasternak. That was just a perfect play at the end, and that's what it took, right? Like, that was such a grindy, slow, defensive game. It was going to take a mistake or a pretty play, and the opening goal for the Leafs happens because Carlo makes a mistake. But yeah, crazy, absolutely crazy. I genuinely can't believe the Bruins beat him again. I really thought the Leafs had it. And now there'll always be the question of if Matthews was healthy, if Nylander was healthy, if Joseph Wall was healthy. That's the thing that really sucks for Leafs fans right now. Is the whole conversation surrounding the Leafs right now, right? Is okay, Sheldon Keefe's got to be gone, the core's got to be done, at least, Marner gets traded, whatever. But this question, has to hurt the most. Because, like, when they lost to Montreal a couple of years ago, right, and they lost John Tavares, people were just like, whatever, no excuses, whatever, they lost. The John Tavares injury definitely sucked. But with the way the Leafs played, that's the thing. Like the first 4 games of the series, they didn't play that well. And then the last 2 games, they played great. They played a really solid game tonight, too. Shout out to Joe for the 19 months. But again, like Leafs fans are left with the 2 of our key players missed games in the series. And the guy who looked like it was going to be the difference maker, Joe Wall, ended up not playing game 7. And like genuinely, if Joe, that's the thing though, you can't even blame like Samsonov. He didn't have a bad game. I mean, only giving up 1 goal in regulation of a game 7 on the road, that's about as good as you can ask for from a goaltender. And it took a perfect play to beat him. So yeah, the question will be out there about Joseph Wall, but 7 straight game 7 losses for the Leafs. They haven't won one since 1992. Wow. I don't think Wall would have made the difference. It's tough to say, right? And I mean, I think, like I said, I think that's the problem for the Leafs that'll make this a really tough pill to swallow for Leafs fans, is there's just so many what ifs in regards to player health, but that's just a part of it. At the end of the day, you know, you can only focus on what you can focus on. And I do think Sheldon Keefe gets fired because they had, 1 power play goal in the entire series? Like, if you want to look at where the Leafs lost this series, it was their inability to do anything on the power play. It wasn't even so much they didn't score on the power play. A lot of the times, they couldn't even break into the fucking offensive zone on the power play. Their penalty kill tonight looked more dangerous than their power play has looked all series long. So, man. Guys, it just genuinely surprised to see this outcome because both teams were on that kind of cusp. Steve's just sad. Yeah, I figured. Again, I like Steve a lot. He's a good guy. He's a nice guy. I'm not the one that, you know, loves to be like, yes, let me watch the LFR to see him upset. It's like, I want the Leafs to accomplish something. Obviously this year, not so much because I didn't want them to, succeed at the sake of the Bruins. But both of these teams, it was in the balance of, you know, if you lose, changes are likely coming. And it's so crazy for the Leafs because after game 4, people were writing the eulogy and it's like, okay, this guy's gone, the coach is gone, get rid of Shanahan. And then they win the next 2 games and all of a sudden, hey, it's game 7 and it's, well, shit, maybe not. And now it's right back to, the old saying of it's the hope that kills you comes to mind because I think for the Leafs fans in the chat, right? And if you're not a Leafs fan, please abstain. Right? Please abstain. I'm genuinely curious. For the Leafs fans in the chat, is it better that they fought back to game 7 overtime, or would you have preferred the series to end in 5 games? Because if I put myself in your shoes, the answer right now is fuck, just I wish they lost in 5 and didn't get my hopes up even more. But it ultimately didn't matter. Am I missing something here? No, Matthews just signed an extension. All members of the Big 4 are under contract, and 5 seems to be the thought, you know. So 7 because you can see who actually wants someone who wants a paycheck. That's fair. You should wear a Pasternak jersey. I have a Pasternak jersey. It's so fucking hot in this office that I do not plan on wearing a jersey right now. I am so sorry. The Pasta jersey's in here somewhere. I don't even know where. Got the Swayman jersey. Can break that out. But so it's a really weird feeling right now as a Bruins fan, right? Because as much as Leafs fans, some Leafs fans would have had the attitude of, oh God, they're going to blow it. Like I said, there's a lot of Bruins fans. Taker, I told you I'm not going to wear a jersey. You just wasted those points. There's a lot of Bruins fans, myself included, where it's just like they're going to fucking choke because that's what they do. Ovechkin, the Bruins easily have a bigger choking history than the Capitals. Easily. Because you're talking about multiple decades, not just, you know, not being able to get past the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, this Taker goes nuts. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, for the Bruins, it's just, you know, Rich. For the Bruins, they you know, they avoid a little bit of a disaster in terms of choking, and that's great. Like I said, I'm still not overly confident that they'll get past Florida at this stage. At the same time, though, man, if I'm a Panthers fan, I'd understand having confidence in Bobrovsky after what he did last year. But at the same time, you know, Bob hasn't and wasn't phenomenal in the opening round against Tampa. But if Bobrovsky finds that extra gear, then it's like, ah, shit, you know. Bobrovsky at the top of his game, still one of the best in the world. So I don't know what to make of it for the Bruins. But for the Leafs, like, my only hope for friends of mine that are Leafs fans is that I hope they do something. But at the same time, we said, hey, I hope they do something after last year. And it didn't get them any further. They technically didn't even go as far. So it's just, I don't know, right? Like this year, it was, hey, here comes Brad Treliving, and they're going to add a lot of grit and sandpaper and snot, as was mentioned a couple of times with the likes of Edmondson and Benoit, and Ryan Reeves is on the team and all that shit. And that didn't work. You know, is it a matter of a coach being the difference? I don't know. I mean, especially too, is it the matter of like, okay, the core four, like, does that work? And, you know, every time a team's eliminated, you always say like, hey, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But for the Leafs especially, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because if you talk about mixing it up, it is literally by definition getting rid of one of your big players. And I mean, you just re-signed William Nylander. You just re-signed Austin Matthews. Tavares still has 1 year left. Who knows? Maybe they just decide to run it one more year until Tavares' deal is up. And then that way you don't have to look at trading Marner, Matthews, or Nylander. Because it's very tough to imagine a winning situation in any of those trades. Because what team is going to want to give you fair value? They know why you're trading him. And it's because it doesn't work, or at least hasn't worked yet. So how the hell are you going to get fair value? So genuinely, I can't help but think you're not going to see that major trade, and that they're going to pretty much run it back. And then if it doesn't work again, then John Tavares, at least he won't be making $11 million, even if he stays. And then you have a little bit more maneuverability. But, you know, Bertuzzi's deal is up. Domi's deal is up. You know, you will have some money coming off the books to be able to work with, but most teams can't afford any of the Big Four's contracts. That's also true, and it's a tough sell in terms of a potential trade, because, well, why the hell would I pay him $10 million if you don't want to pay him $10 million anymore because you can't win with them? Why do I think it'd be any different? You know, like essentially, you need to convince a GM that it's a GM needs to be convinced that you're the problem, not the individual player. So, I don't know, man. That was a crazy end to Game 7, though. I'm still just kind of in shock. Really? Just because, again, like, it really felt like the Leafs had it when they scored. You know, brutal mistake in their own end. And then how officially... I'm sure the box score is up. Officially, how long did the Leafs have that lead? And the answer is 1 minute and 21 seconds. They had the lead for 1 minute and 21 seconds. And Lindholm assisted by JVR, Brazo. Frederick was the third guy on that line tonight, and they were awesome. That line was great for Boston tonight, but I don't know. That's the big question, and nobody knows for sure like what the hell the Leafs are going to do. But like I said, all I can say is that I do feel sorry for Leafs fans. I know a lot of people dance on the graves, but you know, I got a lot of friends who are Leafs fans, and I would like to see the Leafs do something eventually. Like, at the same time, I understand the people who are just like, nope, dancing on their grave every April or May is fucking hilarious, and I'll never get tired of it. Like, I totally get it, but I mean, Kaniak, I had talked about the goal, and again, Samsonov was protecting the 5-hole with the stick instead of poke checking. So, It wasn't the worst way to play it for Samsonov, to not be that aggressive. No, he wasn't. Yes, he was. I watched the goal like 6 times. He chose not to be aggressive and poke check to try and get Pasternak to extend all the way over. He lost sight of the puck over the ricochet. He was still protecting the 5-hole instead of being aggressive. I'm not going to debate this with you. I don't care. Fire Keefe is trending on Twitter. I mean, that sounds about right. The stat cards aren't the end-all, be-all, but looking at the cards for this particular game as well, the Leafs didn't have a bad game at all, really. I mean, you can talk about the bottom options here. I feel like that type of game for Morgan Rielly isn't that uncommon because he's an offensive defenseman. He's a play generator, and having him try to be more defensive isn't exactly the best way to go. But that was a very heavy strategy for the Leafs tonight, was being defensive as hell. And then, yeah, I mean, no surprise, like, Nylander was great. Matthews being the second best player on the ice, that's concerning, given that everybody knows Matthews was not at 100% tonight. Mitch Marner needs a better game than that. Morgan Rielly needs a better game than that. And for the Bruins on the other side, Hampus Lindholm had probably his best game as a Bruin. Charlie McAvoy, offensively wasn't so great. Mason Lohrei, though, had a really interesting game where he was just showing that creativity. So, I don't know. I really, really thought right about now would be a eulogy for the Bruins, and that's not what happened. I haven't seen the deserve to win-o-meter tonight. Hold on. Oh, goodness. I have not seen... Has it been posted? If it's been posted, Endo, send it to me. I haven't seen it, but Marner and Keefe gone. I mean, again, I can't help but think that Marner stays just because how the hell do you trade him? How do you trade him? You can't unless he says, yes, trade me. Like, he has a full no movement clause. He has, and everybody knew that. Like, it was, okay, July 1st, 2023 hits, and Mitch Marner's got a full no movement clause for the last 2 years of his deal. I don't see how you possibly get rid of him. And again, like, Marner's deal is up at the end of next year. Tavares' deal is up at the end of next year. I don't see how you trade either of them unless Marner says he wants to go. I really can't help but think the Leafs run it back for the most part until Tavares' deal's off the books. But then do you risk losing Mitch Marner for nothing? I don't know. Win-o-meter was about 60% for the Bruins. I don't put too much stock into that because both teams did have really good chances. Like, the Bruins had a much better start to this game than the prior two. Obviously, they had like 3 times as many shots combined. But the Leafs did really well in the second period, so I don't know if I believe that too much. But, I labeled it on Twitter, it's another Leafs Groundhog Day. Granted, I thought it would come after Game 5 instead of overtime of Game 7. But, I genuinely can't believe the result of the series. Like, I thought for sure the Bruins were going to choke it away. And they almost did. But somehow for the Leafs, I don't know. It was an 81% win probability for the Leafs after they scored. I mean, that I believe. I mean, they scored with less than 10 minutes left in the game. But, damn. Like I said, Bruins-wise, against the Panthers, I am not optimistic whatsoever. But then again, I also picked the Leafs to beat the Bruins in that series, and that's not what happened. Nobody knows for sure what happens with the Leafs, aside from, again, most people are going to have the feeling of it's the end of an era. Sergachev, I just saw the tweet too, where Steve's like, it's going to be a eulogy for the Leafs. Again, I just don't see it. I just don't see them making that gigantic trade to shake up the core. Again, especially when you have almost $14 million coming off the books just between Bertuzzi, Domi, and Brody. Like, they're going to have money to work with in terms of trying something different with team construction. I don't see one of the big names getting dealt. I just don't see it. So Swayman's the real deal. Swayman is the real deal, man. You know, it's funny because Sin would joke with me about, trade Jeremy Swayman. Even I joked tonight, trade Swayman to a team that deserves him, because through 40 minutes, like, the Bruins were absolutely letting Jeremy Swayman down. Thank God they didn't fully let him down, because Swayman played out of his mind. Without Jeremy Swayman, fucking Leafs would have won that series in 6 somehow. So, I don't know. Like I said, we'll see what happens with the Bruins now moving forward. I still can't predict a crazy change to the Leafs. I just can't. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, for the Leafs, there's just so many questions of what happens this offseason. And then there's the what if Matthews was fully healthy for the entire series? What if Nylander was fully healthy for the entire series? What if Joseph Woll plays Game 7? I don't know. And again, the reason why, and shout out to Saphir on Twitter. Good dude. Shared this tweet from TSN in August of 2021 saying the Leafs were facing a last dance scenario. 2021. They didn't blow it up the next year. They didn't blow it up the year after. So why would I believe that they're going to blow it up this year? You know, we've heard about that of like, all right, that's it. The core doesn't work. Blow it up. They got to do it. And they haven't. So I don't necessarily see why tonight's different. So knowing Montgomery, go back to that screen. So knowing Montgomery, does he completely change the lineup and put in Allmark for Game 1? I could see a situation where Allmark plays Game 1 just because they only have one night's rest. You know, the series starts on Monday. I could see a situation where they play Allmark, but also it's the whole idea of ride the hot hand with Jeremy Swayman. But Swayman has also started more games consecutively than he essentially ever has as a pro. So, I don't know. Jim Montgomery is like me playing franchise mode, man. He'll tinker with the lines no matter what. If you're winning, doesn't matter. This guy's not performing the way I wanted to. Get him the hell out of there. So, I don't know. But, like I said, I mean, the Panthers, regardless of who they ended up playing, you favor the Panthers in that second round. So, I don't know, man. But, crazy. Crazy is the only thing I can say. I just still, it still really hasn't set in that the Bruins didn't blow it. And, God damn the Leafs, man. The fucking Leafs. I really thought they had it this year. I really thought they had it this year. Maybe I'm foolish, but that's what I thought.